Hello, my dear child. It's Grandpa, settled in my old rocking chair, ready to share a story with you. I've been thinking about the times I've stumbled in life, and there's one tale that stands out, a mix of funny and serious, with a lesson I carry to this day. Today, I'm going to tell you about the first big mistake I ever made, back when I was young and thought I knew it all. I'll weave in some advice, too, because I want you to learn from my missteps without tripping over them yourself. So, grab a cozy spot, maybe a cup of tea, and let's have a talk just like family. I was 19, barely out of high school, with a head full of dreams and a heart full of confidence. Too much confidence, if I'm honest. I'd landed a job at a general store in town, stocking shelves, sweeping floors, helping customers. It wasn't glamorous, but it was my first real job, and I felt like a king earning my own money. The store was owned by Mr. Larson, a gruff man with a kind heart, who trusted me more than I probably deserved. I was eager to prove myself, to show I was more than just a kid from the neighborhood. Now, here's where the trouble starts. One day, Mr. Larson asked me to handle a big delivery, crates of canned goods, sacks of flour, all sorts of supplies for the store. He had to step out for a meeting, so he left me in charge, which felt like a badge of honor. "John," he said, "stack everything in the back room. Check the order against the invoice and don't rush." Simple enough, right? Well, I nodded, puffed up my chest, and thought, I've got this. I'll have it done in half the time. I dove in, hauling crates, tossing sacks, moving like a whirlwind. I wanted to impress Mr. Larson, maybe even earn a pat on the back. In my hurry, I didn't bother checking the invoice closely. I glanced at it, saw numbers, assumed it matched, and kept going. By noon, the back room was packed, shelves groaning, and I was grinning ear to ear, proud of my speed. I even took a break to flirt with a girl who came in for sugar. Your grandma would have rolled her eyes if she'd seen me. When Mr. Larson returned, I showed him the back room, expecting praise. Instead, his face went red, then pale. "John," he said, "where's the invoice?" I handed it over, still smug. He studied it, then looked at the crates, then back at me. "Boy, you've accepted double what we ordered." My stomach dropped. I'd signed for 2 trucks worth of goods. Twice the cans, twice the flour, twice everything. The supplier had sent an extra shipment by mistake, and I, in my rush, hadn't noticed. The store couldn't afford it, and Mr. Larson had to spend hours on the phone, negotiating to send half back, eating the cost of what was already opened. I thought I was done for, fired, disgraced, the kid who couldn't handle a simple task. I stood there, head down, waiting for the axe. But Mr. Larson didn't fire me. He sat me down, looked me in the eye, and said, "Mistakes happen, John. What matters is what you do next." He made me help fix it, repacking crates, apologizing to the supplier, even working extra hours to cover the loss. It was humbling, child, but it taught me more than any lecture could. That was my first big mistake. Not just signing for the wrong delivery, but thinking I didn't need to slow down, check twice, or ask for help. I was so busy trying to look good that I forgot to do good. Let me share some advice from that lesson, so you can avoid a mess like mine. First, take your time with important things. Whether it's a job, a decision, or a promise, rushing leads to trouble. If I'd read that invoice properly, I have saved Mr. Larson a headache and myself a lot of shame. When you're faced with something big, pause. Double check. Make sure you're on solid ground before you leap. Second, don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong. I could have argued with Mr. Larson, blamed the supplier, made excuses, but owning up, saying, I messed up, opened the door to fixing it. Mistakes don't define you. Hiding them does. If you slip up, raise your hand, say sorry, and get to work making it right. People respect that more than you think. I remember a time, years later, when I overpromised on a carpentry job. I told the client I could finish in a week, knowing it'd take 2. When I fessed up, they weren't mad. They thanked me for being honest and gave me the extra time. Let me tell you another story tied to this same lesson. A few months after the delivery fiasco, I was still at the store trying to rebuild Mr. Larson's trust. One busy Saturday, a lady came in, frantic, saying she'd lost her purse somewhere in the store. It had her rent money, all in cash. I helped her search, crawling under shelves, checking corners. Nothing. I felt awful, but I had an idea. I asked Mr. Larson if we could put up a sign offering a reward for anyone who turned it in. He agreed, and I added a note, please do the right thing. The next day, a kid brought the purse back, money and all. I learned then that mistakes or problems can be chances to do good, to show who you are. I gave that kid a candy bar from my own pocket, and his smile stuck with me. Here's another piece of advice. Trust your gut, but back it up with facts. That day with the delivery, something felt off when I signed the papers, but I ignored it, too caught up in my own hurry. If I'd listened to that little voice and checked the crates against the list, I'd have caught the error. Your instincts are like a compass, but they work best when you pair them with care. Whether it's signing a contract, choosing a friend, or picking a path, listen to your heart. Then use your head to make sure. I want to share one more tale, because mistakes aren't just one and done. They teach you over time. Years later, when your mom was little, I made another blunder. I'd started a side hustle, fixing up old furniture to sell. I thought I'd hit gold with a beat-up table I found at a yard sale. I spent weeks sanding it, staining it, pouring money into varnish and tools. I was sure it'd fetch a high price. But when I took it to market, nobody wanted it. I'd misjudged what folks needed. Turns out they wanted chairs, not tables. I lost money, time, and a bit of pride. But you know what? I learned to ask people what they wanted before I jumped in. That lesson saved me when I started helping neighbors with home repairs. I'd listen first, then work, and it built trust that lasted. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Mistakes are part of growing. You're going to make them big ones, small ones, silly ones. What matters is how you handle them. Don't let a misstep make you feel small. Let it make you wiser. I was lucky to have a boss like Mr. Larson, who saw my heart, not just my error. You'll find people like that too, if you're honest and willing to learn. Here's a practical tip for when you mess up. Write it down, not to dwell on it, but to understand it. After the delivery mistake, I started keeping a little notebook. I jot down what went wrong, why, and one thing I'd do different next time. It wasn't fancy, just a few lines, but it helped me see patterns, like how I kept rushing or how I'd skip asking questions when I wasn't sure. That notebook became my teacher, and it kept my mistakes from piling up. Another thing, don't let fear of mistakes stop you from trying. After that store incident, I was nervous every time Mr. Larson gave me a new task. I'd second-guess myself, move slow as molasses. But he noticed and said, "John, you're no good to me if you're scared to move." He was right. You can't live waiting for the next slip-up. Take what you've learned, dust yourself off, and step forward. I did, And I ended up running that store's inventory better than anyone, because I knew what not to do. Let me leave you with one last thought. Mistakes are like rocks in a river. They can trip you, sure, but they also shape the water's path. Every wrong turn I took, signing that delivery, misjudging that table, taught me to be patient, to listen, to laugh at myself. Those lessons made me the man I am, the one talking to you now, hoping to guide you right. You're going to stumble, child, but you're also going to rise stronger each time. Before I go, I want to ask you something straight from my heart. If this story made you smile or think or feel a little less alone, please hit that subscribe button. It's not just a click. It's a way to join this family, to sit with me every week and share these tales and lessons. Your support keeps Grandpa Talk alive, keeps this old man stories reaching you and others who need a chuckle or a nudge. It means the world to know you're out there listening, learning, growing with me. I love you, child. You're braver than you know, and you've got a good heart. Keep going, even when you trip. Grandpa's here, always, cheering you on. Until next time, walk steady and don't rush the important stuff. You got this.